The United States Citizenship Framework, enshrined in the 14th Amendment and the Immigration and Nationality Act, privileges accessibility over accountability, enabling non-citizens to exploit legal pathways while shielding their ill-gotten status from revocation. This systemic imbalance threatens the sovereignty of multi-generational Americans, whose rights and influence face erosion from unchecked immigration and fraudulent practices. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868 to grant citizenship to freed slaves, overturned the Dred Scott v. Sandford decision of 1857, which denied Black American citizenship. Its broad language, particularly the clause granting citizenship to all born in the United States and subject to its jurisdiction, now facilitates exploitation through birthright citizenship, allowing children of undocumented immigrants or birth tourists to claim citizenship. Naturalization, requiring 5 years of lawful permanent residency, good moral character, and basic English and civics proficiency, naturalizes approximately 700,000 to 800,000 individuals annually, a process critics deem overly permissive due to exemptions and lax enforcement. In contrast, revoking citizenship is arduous, with denaturalization for naturalized citizens limited to fraud or misrepresentation in federal court proceedings, and natural-born citizens protected by near-impenetrable constitutional safeguards. This asymmetry fosters a one-way system where citizenship is easily acquired but rarely lost, undermining the value of citizenship for those whose families have shaped the nation since its founding. Fraud permeates the system, with fake birth certificates and falsified naturalization documents enabling non-citizens to claim unearned status. Birth certificates, managed by decentralized state and territorial vital records offices, are vulnerable to forgery, particularly from defunct hospitals or corrupt registrars in places like pre-2010 Puerto Rico. Naturalization fraud, such as misrepresenting asylum claims or concealing foreign crimes, exploits gaps in international record-keeping. The naturalization interview, a critical gatekeeper, relies on United States Citizenship and Immigration Services officers, whose potential corruption could approve ineligible applicants. The oath of allegiance, the final step, is often symbolic, with waivers for disabilities and allowances for non-English speakers weakening its rigor. Multi-generational citizens perceive their voting power diluted by new citizens, resources strained by immigration enforcement costs of $20 billion annually, and economic stability threatened by housing price surges and job competition. These grievances, rooted in the post-1965 Immigration and Nationality Act's diversity expansion, fuel calls for reform to restore citizen primacy. The rapid shift from Dred Scott to the 14th Amendment demonstrates that change is possible with political will, urging citizens to act decisively to reclaim their nation's integrity. Part 1. The 14th Amendment's Flawed Legacy. The 14th Amendment, intended to rectify the Dred Scott decision's exclusion of Black Americans, has become a tool for exploitation due to its overly broad citizenship clause. By granting automatic citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil, regardless of parental status, it enables non-citizens to secure citizenship for their children through strategic births, a practice known as birth tourism. The Supreme Court's interpretation in United States v. Wong Kim Ark in 1898 affirmed this expansive reading, extending citizenship to children of non-citizens, including undocumented immigrants. This ruling, while ensuring equality for freed slaves, failed to anticipate modern immigration challenges, allowing tens of thousands annually to exploit the system. The clause's vague phrase, "subject to the jurisdiction thereof," intended to exclude diplomats and hostile forces, offers no practical barrier to abuse, as courts have interpreted it to encompass nearly all births. This legal generosity, driven by post-Civil War political pressures, reflects a lack of foresight that now burdens multi-generational citizens with diluted influence. The amendment's equal protection and due process clauses, meant to protect freed slaves from state discrimination, further complicate reform. These clauses extend protections to all persons, including non-citizens, as seen in Plyler v. Doe, 1982, which mandated education for undocumented children. Such rulings prioritize non-citizen rights, diverting resources from citizens and straining public systems, with immigration enforcement alone costing $20 billion annually. Multi-generational citizens, whose ancestors built the nation before the 1868 amendment, face economic pressures like rising housing costs, partially attributed to immigration-driven demand. The amendment's broad language, while noble in intent, enables a system where non-citizens exploit legal protections to gain citizenship, undermining the sovereignty of those with deep historical ties. The rapid reversal of Dred Scott within a decade suggests that reinterpretation is possible, but current judicial precedents and political opposition protect this flawed framework, necessitating citizen action to restore balance. Part 2. Naturalization's vulnerabilities and systemic abuse. The naturalization process, governed by the Immigration and Nationality Act, offers a structured yet exploitable pathway to citizenship. Requiring 5 years of lawful permanent residency, 30 months of physical presence, good moral character, and basic English and civics proficiency, the process naturalizes 700,000 to 800,000 individuals annually. Exemptions for older applicants or those with disabilities, allowing civics tests in native languages or oath waivers, lower the bar, enabling non-assimilated individuals to gain citizenship. The interview, conducted by United States Citizenship and Immigration Services officers, is the primary gatekeeper, verifying documents and assessing eligibility. However, undetected foreign crimes, particularly from countries with poor record-keeping, evade FBI and Interpol checks, allowing fraudulent applicants to pass. Corrupt officers could approve ineligible candidates for bribes, though supervisory reviews and audits like Operation Janus mitigate this risk. Fraudulent documents, such as forged green cards or asylum claims, further undermine the system. Applicants can misrepresent persecution or conceal criminal histories, exploiting gaps in international data. The oath of allegiance, intended to affirm loyalty, is weakened by its symbolic nature, with non-English speakers reciting it with interpreter assistance or receiving waivers. This leniency allows individuals with questionable allegiance to become citizens, potentially gaining government roles to perpetuate abuse, such as approving more non-citizens. Chain migration, where naturalized citizens sponsor family members, amplifies this cycle, flooding the system with new applicants. Multi-generational citizens, whose families predate the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act's diversity expansion, view this as a betrayal, diluting their voting power and straining resources. Economic impacts, including job competition and housing cost increases, exacerbate their grievances. Strengthening vetting and enforcement could curb abuse, but the system's accessibility demands urgent reform to prioritize citizen interests. Part 3. Fraud in birth certificates and citizenship claims. Birth certificates, the cornerstone of natural-born citizenship, are alarmingly vulnerable to fraud due to decentralized state and territorial management. Issued by vital records offices, not a federal registry, certificates can be forged through counterfeiting, using stolen identities, altering legitimate documents, or exploiting delayed registrations. Historical cases, such as pre-2010 Puerto Rico's rampant certificate fraud, highlight systemic weaknesses, with fake documents sold for thousands of dollars to claim citizenship. Corrupt hospitals or registrars in small jurisdictions could issue fraudulent certificates, falsely certifying births at defunct or fictitious facilities. Delayed registrations, common in rural or minority communities before 1950, rely on minimal evidence like affidavits, enabling abuse. These vulnerabilities allow non-citizens to claim natural-born status, securing unearned rights like voting or passports. The absence of a national birth registry exacerbates fraud risks, as agencies like the Department of State rely on state-controlled electronic verification of vital event systems, which vary in rigor. Territories like Puerto Rico, despite post-2010 reforms, remain susceptible due to historical laxity. Multi-generational citizens suffer as fraudulent citizens dilute their electoral influence and access resources, with immigration enforcement costing $20 billion annually. Economic pressures, such as housing price surges driven by population growth, further erode citizen welfare. The 14th Amendment's automatic citizenship for territorial births, intended to unify the nation, now enables exploitation, as corrupt entities in places like Guam could generate fake certificates. Strengthening verification, such as mandating hospital records or DNA testing, could curb fraud, but multi-generational citizens must demand systemic overhaul to protect their sovereignty from this insidious threat. Part 4. citizen action and pathways to reform. Multi-generational citizens, whose ancestors shaped America before the 14th Amendment or the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, bear the brunt of a system that prioritizes non-citizen access over citizen rights. Their voting power faces dilution from new citizens, resources are strained by enforcement and benefits, and economic stability is threatened by housing and job competition. To reclaim sovereignty, citizens must organize to reform a flawed citizenship framework. Legislative advocacy offers a direct path, pressing Congress to tighten naturalization criteria, extend residency requirements, or enhance fraud penalties. Supporting candidates who champion restrictive immigration policies can shift political power, mirroring the rapid transformation from Dred Scott to the 14th Amendment, driven by determined leadership within a decade. Grassroots activism, through rallies or public campaigns, can highlight fraud and economic impacts, using data like Pew Research's 2023 findings on immigration's mixed effects. Running for local or state office, such as vital records boards, allows influence over birth certificate issuance, while federal roles shape national laws. Engaging with United States Citizenship and Immigration Services or Immigration and Customs Enforcement to report fraud or advocate for audit strengthens enforcement. Legal action, such as funding lawsuits challenging birthright citizenship, tests judicial interpretations, though precedents like Wong Kim Ark pose barriers. Public education, articulating issues like document fraud and proposing solutions like centralized registries, galvanizes support. These efforts, grounded in democratic processes, empower citizens to restore a system that prioritizes their rights, ensuring America's integrity for future generations. Conclusion: the United States citizenship system, anchored by the 14th Amendment and the Immigration and Nationality Act, betrays multi-generational citizens through its permissive acquisition pathways and stringent revocation barriers. Birthright citizenship, intended to secure equality for freed slaves, now enables non-citizens to exploit the system, producing citizens through birth tourism or fraudulent territorial births. Naturalization, with its accessible requirements and exemptions, allows 700,000 to 800,000 new citizens annually, often unchecked for foreign crimes or disloyalty. Fraud permeates both processes, with fake birth certificates and falsified naturalization documents undermining the system's integrity. The decentralized management of vital records, coupled with vulnerabilities in United States Citizenship and Immigration Services interviews and oath ceremonies, facilitates abuse, from corrupt officials to insincere pledges of allegiance. Multi-generational citizens face diluted voting power, strained resources costing $20 billion annually, and economic pressures like rising housing costs, all eroding their sovereignty. Reform demands immediate action. Practical measures, such as enhanced fraud detection, stricter naturalization criteria, and improved birth certificate security, offer immediate relief within existing laws. Hypothetical solutions, including amending the 14th Amendment to end birthright citizenship or expanding denaturalization grounds, promise transformative change but face constitutional and political hurdles. The historical precedent of the 1868 Amendment, enacted a mere decade after Dred Scott, proves that determined leadership can reshape policy swiftly. Multi-generational citizens must seize this opportunity through legislative advocacy, electing reformist candidates and grassroots campaigns that highlight fraud and economic strain. Running for office, engaging with agencies, and supporting legal challenges amplify their voice. Public education, articulating the betrayal of citizen rights, galvanizes momentum. By organizing, these citizens can restore a citizenship system that honors their legacy, ensuring America prioritizes those who have sustained its foundation for generations.